Today we're going to talk about how to convert better using the WOW session. So this is primarily for face-to-face trainers who are going to do a consult. Next session, take their prospect for a training session with the intent to wow them and paint a forward vision that will allow you then to sell with a really high close ratio. If you're really successful with your closing, so if you're closing 90% or higher, then it might be worth just doing the consult and closing at the end of it, particularly if you're an online coach as well and you're experienced with that. If you're not, the WOW session's where it's at. If you don't have a full book right now, do the WOW session. You've got time, you've got space in your book. What is it? Well, it's an opportunity for you to get to know your client better, for the client to get to know you and trust you. And ultimately, we talked about in the previous video, the path of least resistance conversations, and also those test closes that you can build into this WOW session that you may not be able to get out of a consult right now. So what a lot of personal trainers will do will be like, okay, you want to shape up through your stomach, you want bigger glutes, whatever. And they put together a session based on that. What we recommend instead, we want to actually create a best practice. We want to have 2 to 3 pre-planned sessions that you always use. There's a few reasons for that. 1, you can set it up quicker. 2, you know exactly where to do and you've coached this session and movements 100 times. So even if you're new, you come across super confident because you've done this exact session and you're able to communicate and cue those movements. You're really confident with them. And realistically, there's probably only 2 or 3 types of people that are coming through that you really need to build this program for. Have that ready to go. It's outlined. You know, after a few times, you won't even have to have it in front of you. You just know what that session looks like when you walk in the door. We want to refer back to the obstacles. So what are the pillars that you have in your business? What things do you do? And then the solutions that you're going to provide to the goals that the client have said. Okay, so this way the client will be reminded of why they're going to have a scheduled session with you in the first place. You want to be able to remind them like, hey, you were looking for help with this, and here's how we're going to do it. So we're going to use that path of least resistance. What we want to do there is create an opportunity where they have to give 1 of 2 answers as often as possible. And then ideally, those answers actually create a test close as well. It doesn't give a client the chance to say no, be indecisive, or give awkward answers that don't allow the conversation to flow through. So an example of that would be like, would you like to use the rower or the treadmill first? They have to pick one. Not just like, oh, whatever, where do you want to start? And they're like, oh, I don't fucking know, you're the expert. When you give 2 options, you create this thing that I'm the expert, but you're in this as well, and we're a team. If you just, should we start on the rowing machine? It's like, I don't know. Give the client what they want. We're also going to show them what they need. So that circuit isn't going to be burpees and star jumps and bullshit to get their heart rate up. You're a trainer who believes in progressive overload and programming and improving movement, and you can apply that to your circuit. So you give them that feeling of like, okay, this is hard, I'm sweaty, I'm puffed, this is very challenging. But you're also correcting their squat. You're fixing their push-ups. You've got them doing bent over rows. And then you're saying to them, so next time we do this, we're either going to extend the time or add load, or we're going to do more rounds, or we're going to actually just build you to the conditioning that you'll be able to do this. That shows the client that, hey, this is really fun. I'm getting what I wanted out of this, but shit, I hadn't really thought about my squat form and how I need to improve X, Y, Z in my training. Then create sessions when you're riding those 2 to 3 workouts. Make sure that they actually work in the gym when it's its busiest. All right, you don't want to create a session that uses 6 pieces of equipment at the same time and then you've got a WOW session at 6 p.m. and all of them are busy. You want to, ideally, the way we would recommend it is try and keep things to either 1 piece of equipment at a time. So if you want to superset things, it's like, hey, we're going to do a lat pull down with a dumbbell exercise. Or if you're going to do your circuit, it takes up a really small amount of space so they feel confident and safe in their little bubble, and also not much equipment's required to complete it. What to not do is make up a new session on the spot. You look lost, you're looking around, she wanted to train glutes and fucking, the leg press is over there, we'll give that a go. That just looks terrible. You look disorganized, you don't look professional, you're not building trust with this person. Do assessments that aren't movement based. All right, and I've done this, been guilty of this in the past, learned all these fancy assessments for people, got out and I was fucking internally rotating, externally rotating the hip, assessing scapular function. No one gave a shit. My sales ratio plummeted What we need to be good at is get them training and then point out anything that we might see. Hey, this is going on at the hip. This is going on at the shoulder. This needs work in your squats. We'll progress that over time, but they need to be training when you do that. Rolling around on the floor isn't going to convince someone who just wants to lose weight that they need to work with you. Talk about you and your own training is a big don't. They don't care. You're not there for you. You're there for the client. We talk about being client first all the time and service first all the time. What is that person there for? What do they need? You can start to get to know each other on a personal level months down the track when you're in a more comfortable zone. It's not for right now. Next one's don't make them vomit. I know it happens, but we need to be aware of the fitness level of someone that's coming in. Have they eaten? Have they drank any water? Did they sleep? When was the last time they actually trained? How deconditioned are they? Make sure you're queuing. How are you feeling? Are you all good? Like, this may be challenging. Let me know if you start to feel cold or sweaty or anything like that. It's a pretty embarrassing thing to come back from and then agree to actually pay someone to do that. Don't try and change everything once. It's only beginning, so you can give your client glimpses of what they're going to achieve. But don't go all overboard. You don't have to rebuild their squat from the fucking feet up. Give them some cues, improve it. They're not squatting their 1RM. They're not going to get hurt. Cue them, make them better, teach them what we're going to change. They don't take forever. We all often talk about 30-minute sessions. Up to 60 is plenty. Once your session is complete, your client should feel positive and excited, not dead. Positive and excited. The conversations that you had, the tweaks you made, all these references to moving forwards. Hey, we're going to get you under a barbell one day. You'll be able to lift this much. You'll be fit enough and conditioned enough to do that. This will be a lot easier. Like you said, you've got that fat loss goal. We'll get even better at this with the fat loss. Keep tying it back to their goals. Keep tying it back to their obstacles. How did you go with that thing that we talked about in your consult where we talked about eating more protein? Make it all about them, their outcomes, and their obstacles. Keep the positive language flowing and remind them of what they're about to achieve. So when we start painting that forward picture, these are the goals you wanted. We've shown you today. This is the best way to achieve it. In our next video, we're going to talk about actually closing and how you can present your prices to maximize the impact and increase the likelihood that someone's going to sign that dotted line with you. Don't forget to head to our website, which is STCfitlearning.com. Check out all our free resources there. We've also got links to the audio podcast, or you can watch it here on YouTube. Go and have an explore. Thanks.